I posted the Andrée match yesterday, and for you guys that haven't seen it, I'm going to put a link in the pinned comment. And there were a lot of comments underneath this video, and many of you have asked me to analyze the match. So this is what I'm going to do in today's video. But to give you more context, I need to tell you the history of my tennis so it makes sense what was happening on the court, and it also is going to make more sense to understand the tactics that I was utilizing. So I used to play Division I college tennis, and I actually quit playing tennis for a couple of years after my last college match. I made a whole video about that. I then moved to Hawaii for a teaching job, and my boss was hosting futures and challengers at some of the clubs that he was managing, and he had a wildcard tournament for a future, and I entered this wildcard tournament, and without any practice, with only one racket, I won the wildcard tournament, and that ignited the passion for tennis in me again after not having played at all for a couple of years. And I started competing regularly since that point. I didn't stay in Hawaii long. It was only a couple of years. I moved to Southeast Florida. And when I got here, I played a tremendous amount of tournaments. I would play men's open. I also played age division tournaments. I played the men's 30 nationals in Fort Lauderdale every year. I also played the men's open nationals. So I was competing a lot, and my level was still pretty decent, but it had dropped off a lot compared to how I was playing in college, because when I was in college, I was training every day, and that was replaced with teaching every day and then playing on the weekends. So I continued to play these tournaments in Florida, and I had a lot of fun. But in one particular match at the men's open nationals, I busted up my knee again. I had injured my knee in juniors where I had to be carried off the court, and my knee was never 100%, but I could play and manage pain and do exercises to help me avoid pain on the court. And I consulted with a lot of doctors throughout the years, and I trusted one doctor that told me to avoid surgery, which I have done to this day. However, in that particular match, that's probably 10 or 12 years ago at the men's open nationals, I hurt my knee really badly, and that's the last time that I played a competitive match at a tournament. I have developed a fear of playing tennis after that match because I have a fear of blowing out my knee. I have tried to play tournaments since that match, and it didn't go very well. It was the men's 30 state championships that I did win, but it was a weak draw, and I selected a tournament that was a little bit weaker, and the knee didn't feel good at all in that tournament. So I decided to play the men's 35s shortly after that, and my knee just wasn't right. So I decided then to stop playing tournaments altogether because I just couldn't play my normal tennis anymore. I had severe limitations moving to my left side, and I just didn't trust my knee, and it made absolutely no sense to continue playing. However, in 2018, I started my YouTube channel, and I wanted to feature some matches of myself playing. And that again ignited some competitive spirit in me. And I thought that despite not practicing that much, maybe playing on average one set every 2 months or so, it's really not more than that. I spent all my time working on my online business, and I spent time coaching my students. And what's so interesting is that at no point during my time on YouTube did I feel that I've gotten a lot worse. I always stepped on the court and I thought, I can still play. Of course, I'm rusty and I can't move that well, but I can still play. If I manage my movements to the left side, if I try to focus on keeping the points extremely short, so basically going for winners more than I normally would, I can still play at a decent level. And I would often play against some good juniors that I was coaching, and I never had the feeling that I've gotten a lot worse. However, for the first time in my life, I have now the feeling that I have gotten worse. And it is so weird because at the same time, I'm training more than I have in a very long time. So last year, I spent a lot of time testing rackets, and I decided to play with a shift. And when you select a racket, you have to think hard about your game. What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? What can a racket do to improve some of your weaknesses? And I felt that the shift gave me a chance to improve my forehand while at the same time taking a little bit of strength away from my serve and my backhand. So naturally, as I announced in some of my videos, I was going to try to play some matches with the shift and see how it goes. And let me tell you, it didn't go too well. I played against a lot of different opponents, And some of the players that I used to beat very easily, who were my former students, now I find myself losing to them consecutively. In one instance, I lost one set to a guy that I used to be 6-0 or 6-1. And I thought, okay, Nick, maybe you caught a bad day. Let's try again on another day. I came out a week later and I lost pretty much with the exact same score. And again, I played horribly. And there were other matches like that where I started thinking, you know what? I've gotten a lot worse. I don't think I can play anymore. And that thought ignited a little bit of the competitive spirit in me, because I am a competitive person. And this motivated me to start working out a lot, exercising a lot, playing a lot more tennis than I have in a very long time. And most importantly, doing a lot more rehab on my knee. So back in the day, I used to do a lot of exercises for my quads and my calves, while at the same time ignoring some other muscles in my legs. For example, the front part of the leg here and the hamstring. So I'm doing a lot more different exercises for my knee to improve the function of the knee. And this brings me to the match against Andrée. While I had horrible physical problems in this match that I'm gonna talk about in great detail, the knee actually felt better than it has in a very long time, because the knee was tested. I was moving around the court, playing offense, playing defense, and the knee felt pretty good. So this gives me a lot of confidence that, in fact, what I'm doing for my knee is allowing me to play more tennis. Now, the knee is not perfect. I will often have to take several days off after a match and it's still painful. But the worst thing for me is not necessarily the pain. I can handle pain, but rather the fear of getting injured. And I can honestly tell you that in that match against Andrée, I didn't think about my knee that much. In other matches, my mind is sharply focused on my knee and avoiding certain movements. So this match was actually very motivating for me to continue training down the road. And now let's get to the match analysis against Andrée. So you have to understand what type of player I am to understand my tactics. So you already know that I have some limitations regarding my movement, and generally for that reason, I try to keep the points as short as possible. But also, some of you might not know how old I am. And some of you guys said that I'm Djokovic's age. No, I'm exactly 10 years older than Djokovic. Djokovic is born in 87. I'm born in 77. I'm turning 48 in September this year, and I'm soon going to be hitting 50. And something that's been interesting to observe regarding my game is the fact that my recovery time between points has gotten a lot worse. So generally, my endurance is good. I've only cramped once in a match, and that was in my hand after match point. After I went like this, my hand cramped up and I couldn't let go of the racket, but I never cramped on the court. I had some very long matches, 3 hours plus. So I have long endurance, but I would get tired after long rallies and be able to play the following point. And what's happening in the last 5 years or so, when I play in the summer here where the humidity is sky high, is that I do get extremely out of breath and extremely exhausted after rallies, and my recovery time is not as fast as it used to be. So that has to be taken into consideration regarding tactics, because when you get that exhausted after a long rally, you don't want another rally on the next point. So that influences your decision making on the court, and you want to keep the points short. And that started kicking in against Andrée in the second game of the match. So it is for that reason that I abandoned my strategy of slicing and extending the rallies and going for more on the first and second ball of the rally. So generally, when it comes to the type of opponents that I like, the worst opponent for me is somebody who hits the ball very fast and very hard, because naturally I'm a little bit slower in my reactions and my movements, and I have long strokes. So these are the type of opponents that I hate playing against, especially on super fast surfaces such as indoor carpet. I like, on the other hand, to play against someone who doesn't put a lot of pressure on me, who doesn't play the ball as fast. So against guys with a lot of spin or even a lot of slice where the balls don't penetrate that much, I don't feel pressured and I can be aggressive, and I usually have success against defensive type opponents. So going into this match against Andrée, I had the advantage of having seen him play against Emma, and his forehand is very spinny and he can hit it hard when he wants to. And his serve in person is a lot bigger than it looks on camera. So he's got a pretty big serve and he's lefty. Now it's obvious to everyone in the comments that the backhand is the weak side, but I can tell you that the backhand is a lot better in person than it is on camera. And the more power you give to that backhand, the better it is. So my idea before the match was I'm gonna give him a lot of slices to the backhand and give him no pace. And that worked. In that first return game, there was one rally where I tried this strategy and I sliced a lot to his backhand, and he wasn't putting that much pressure on me. And not only that, when I sliced it to his backhand, he would sometimes loop the ball a little bit more, give me height, and that's something that I love on my forehand. When I get a higher ball, that's when I can blast. And I was able to be aggressive in that first game. I hit 3 forehand winners, 1 off the return and 2 out of a rally, and I was able to break serve. Now in my service game at 30 all, I missed a shocking overhead Djokovic style, like you guys said in the comments, only it was a lot worse than Djokovic. I didn't move my feet at all. And I don't know why I hit it right at him. I should have just tapped the ball inside out and would have had an easy point. And to miss that at 30 all, it's very bad because I gave him a break point right away. But I was able to get out of that break point with a good serve. But then there was one rally in particular where for the first time, I got severely out of breath. It was the one where I got lobbed and ended up winning the point with a nice little dropper. It was actually break point that I saved, but I was very out of breath after that. And that was worrisome because only the second game in, I was having physical issues. But I was able to get out of that game with some good serving. And I was feeling the ball well on my forehand in that next return game to go up double break. And I had 2 consecutive inside-out forehand winners. The inside-out forehand is one of my stronger shots. I used to practice this shot a lot with my dad back in juniors. He called it the Steffica, and this referred to the Steffi Graf inside-out forehand, which is really good. So this is a shot that I really like. I prefer to hit that one over the inside in. However, even though I had love 30, I didn't play a good return game, and he ended up holding serve. Now the problem started at 2-1, me trying to hold serve. And the worst thing that you can do if you rely on your serve is to let easy service games go over deuce. So on several occasions in this match, I had 40 love on my serve, and I complicated the service games unnecessarily. So I should have put a lot more attention to those 40 love points. I played them carelessly. Not only did I want to keep the point short, but I also wanted to keep the match short. I didn't want these games to go on forever and turn into an absolute battle. But I got out of that 2-1 service game where it was 40 love and I let it go to deuce. I even saved break point if I remember correctly. And then on the next service game, I'm playing well and I have 15-40 and I missed 2 consecutive backhand returns to go up double break. And I got to tell you that the shift does not feel good on my backhand at all. It was surprisingly good on my serve in that match. I feel like my slide serve and my kick serve work well. The flat serve is not quite as fast as with the pure drive, but I feel that I can rip my forehand and I have more control when I go full blast with the shift compared to the pure drive. So that's positive. But on the backhand, somebody did the statistics for the match, and I had a lot of winners on my forehand, and I had 0 winners on my two-handed backhand. And my two-handed backhand used to be my best shot. So there's definitely a lack of power with the shift, but I'm not going to blame the racket. I could have made those returns up 15-40 and made Andrée play. Maybe he would have had pressure not to go down double break and would have given me an error. Who knows? So that was a very poor game from my end. Now in the next service game, again, I'm up 40 love and I let this game go over deuce, but I end up holding, and I have to explain my return game up 4-2. And that was a tank return game. 6 games in, I was feeling it physically. And I didn't want to play any rallies in that game. So I'm calling it a tank game. I mean, I did intend to win the points, but I did not want to rally at all. I just blasted every single ball in that game, and he ended up holding to love. And that game didn't last longer than a minute. And I felt refreshed and I caught my breath. And after the changeover, I served my best service game of the match, which I held to love. And now I'm up 5-3. Andrée served well in that game, held. And up 5-4, I played such a frustrating service game that stuck in my mind for a while after this match. I could not believe that I lost my serve, serving for the set at 5-4. I was missing so many first serves, and my forehand did let me down. Maybe there was a tad bit of tension there. I let some forehand sail. Not getting my first serve in that game at all is very frustrating, and I should have had better shot selection on the serve, no doubt about it. And a double fault at love 30 is inexcusable, but I still had the confidence to hold, even being down love 40. I hit a good forehand inside in and made it 15-40, and I made a tactical error at 15-40 because Andrée hit a flat bunt return in the middle of the court, and I hit that forehand very, very hard. So when the ball is higher, I can go hard. When the ball is lower, I got to reduce pace and make more spin and just get the ball in. So horrendous game, and I tried really hard to get the break right back, but I couldn't. I was somewhat distraught from losing that game and wasn't playing well. Andrée held, and that service game down 5-6 was an absolute battle. I fought very hard to stay in the match, and I was able to save set point. And I got into the tiebreak, and a lot of you guys in the comments said, Nick, why don't you just come to the net? A lot of you guys said this in the Emma match as well. Now let me explain. I have pretty good volleys. I developed them by teaching lessons, but I have a hard time getting to the net. So it's not enough to just have good volleys. You have to make it up there. I never serve them volley because I'm very bad in transition. So once I'm already there, my volleys are good, but that first transition volley is poor, not because of poor volley technique, but rather because of my poor physical ability. So volleying requires a lot of physical skills, and it's easier said than done. I like the volley when I'm cleaning up at the net. That's when I like to come in. I don't like forcing the issue when it comes to coming to the net. Of course, as a surprise factor, it can work. So I should have included some serve and volley or chip and charge at certain moments in this match. But not coming to the net was definitely not a reason why I lost this. And this was evident in the tiebreak because on the very first point, I came to the net with a pretty decent slice approach shot, and Andrée passed me with a backhand down the line. And this tiebreak was so frustrating because I made some frustrating errors. For example, that running forehand, that is a forehand that's completely left me. I used to be able to hit good forehands on the run. I can't anymore, and I have to improve my physicality and my footwork and my overall fitness to start hitting those shots again, because they used to be quite good. And of course, as I've talked about in many of my previous videos, that transitional low ball forehand is also a big weakness. So I missed that running forehand, but I tried to fight in this tiebreak, and I played some good points. I made it 4-3, only 1 minute break, and I hit a really strong, good forehand inside out. And again, on that next one, I tried going inside out again, but I hit it just a tad too flat. I didn't get enough lift on that one. The ball wasn't quite that high, and I made a frustrating error and ended up losing this tiebreak 7-3. Now, this match looks short when you watch it chopped up like this, but the entire session, from when I turned on the camera and when I turned it off, was 2.5 hours. And this one set took 2 hours. And it was an absolute battle trying to stay alive. This was the most exhausted I ever was in a tennis match. So let me try to explain to you what I'm going to do to improve this problem. So I'm going to do a drill where I'm going to hit a forehand over that singles line. I'm going to run to the other line and hit a backhand. And I'm going to do this for 45 seconds. All right, 20-second break. I'm going to do it again. 20-second break. I'm going to do one more, last one. So guys, on the first one, I was okay. On the second one, a little bit out of breath. But on the third one, I was very out of breath afterwards. Heart rate jumped to 142. This is exactly what I need to work on. Now, with age, the amount of time you need to recover in between points gets longer. So this is not a problem that's isolated with me. I've taught a lot of players my age some even younger that go through drills and they play in these hot conditions and they experience the same thing. And the only way to work on recovery time is to do more of these tennis specific exercises where you get yourself absolutely exhausted, you get your heart rate to go up, and then trying to recover quickly for the next point is something that's tougher to do with age, but it's definitely something that can be trained. I'll go back to something that James Blake said. There's no better way to get in shape for tennis than playing tennis itself. So if you play a lot of matches, that's another way to increase recovery time. So one of the biggest reasons why I lost this set to Andrée was that I was absolutely exhausted in between points, and that affected my shot selection and my ability to play my best tennis. Down the road, I have to continue to strengthen muscles around my knee. I need to play a lot of tennis to improve some of the deficiencies that I do have. My serve has not been working at all. I made a separate video on my serve issues that I'm going to post soon. My forehand is very much still work in progress. Even with the shift, I got to improve my running forehand. I got to improve my low forehand, but even on some of the rally forehands or high forehands, I still need to get better. My backhand has absolutely deserted me, so I need to find a solution there. So a lot to work on. And most importantly, I have to improve my tennis fitness. I know there are some limitations with my age. And I also know from experience that other exercises won't do that much for this specific problem. I can go on endurance runs and walks. One day after the Andrée match, I wanted to punish myself for losing that. And I went on a 6-mile walk in a sweatsuit with a 40-pound weight vest. And I was able to complete this walk. So endurance is not necessarily my problem, but it's a recovery time. So I gotta do more tennis specific exercises, which I have been doing. I have to get my heart rate way up and then recover and then do it again. That's basically what tennis fitness is. I've been doing a lot of these type of exercises in the sand, which increases the degree of difficulty. So I plan to post more matches of myself playing on the Intuitive Tennis YouTube channel. Yes, there will be a rematch with Andrée. And my goal is to find my game again, because like I said in the beginning, I felt that I've gotten a lot worse. So let's see if I can get my level back to a decent one again. And hopefully some of you guys are going to get motivated by my journey and hit the practice court yourselves. So I'm going to see you guys in the next video.